Welcome to Midlife Reclaimed, the podcast for women ready to navigate midlife with more clarity, compassion, and energy. I'm Shannon Swales, psychologist, writer, doggy mama, and midlife woman walking this path alongside you. Twice a month, we explore real stories, expert insights, and practical tools to help you move through chronic stress, overwhelm, and burnout so you can reclaim your voice, your boundaries, and your joy. Please remember what you hear here is general information, not a substitute for personal therapy. This isn't about midlife crisis, it's about midlife reclamation. So let's begin. Hey everyone, I am so glad to be back recording for the podcast. I have been on a bit of a hiatus from the solo episodes, but also the guest episodes. Season 7 wrapped up in August of this year, but it's lovely to be rested and back in my studio to record this session. So thank you so much for being here, especially those who've been with me for some time, and welcome to those who are new to Midlife Reclaimed podcast as well. I'm Shannon Swales, in case you didn't know. Welcome. Happy to have you here. So in this episode, which is kind of really interesting, I've just come back from rest with producing this show. And today's episode is actually about rest, but particularly about our struggles with allowing ourselves to rest, particularly that the resistance, the blocks, the barriers. I really want to get into that today because it constantly comes up in the work that I do. And I know for myself, my own lived experience, rest has been something I have had to learn to allow. So I really want to help you out there because I'm sure I am not alone, and all the other people I've worked with aren't alone in finding rest really difficult to do. Okay, so I have a stack of questions that I'm going to answer for you on this topic, starting with the very first one. Why is rest so uncomfortable? This is because from a young age, we have been conditioned to see our value in what we do, what we produce, rather than who we are. So when we come to rest, our identity, our sense of self is threatened. So let's deep dive a little bit further into exploring this. So my next question is, what does the research, what does clinical practice and my clinical practice teach us about what those barriers are to allowing ourselves to rest? So let's have a look at them. There's quite a few that I have pinpointed for today to discuss. So the first one here that I want to talk about is the internalized productivity culture. So we have learnt that our worth, our value is based on our output. And so rest equals laziness. And so we keep pushing through to prove that worth. So there's that one. So the second one that I want to talk about is the nervous system conditioning. So when we are in that go, 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 doing mode, our nervous system gets very used to that. And so if we do slow down and bring a bit of stillness, we can experience feelings of anxiety, even sometimes panic or just something's wrong here, because the nervous system, the mind is not used to that mode. So it thinks it's unsafe. Now, this next one is a common one for my midlife women out there. So any midlife women listening, tune into this one. So, but it can be for other people too. But our feelings of guilt due to our caregiving scripts. So women in our society and in a lot of cultures are our role, our conditioning is around giving, caregiving, to give out our care to others. And this is quite conditioned or rewarded in our society. So when a woman starts to slow down or provide some stillness, there can be thoughts of I'm selfish, this is wrong, and then that feeling of guilt, the feeling that lets us know that we're doing something wrong. But here we're not doing something wrong, but that we've learnt is wrong in our role in society. So there's that one as well. Another one here, and I see this time and time again as well in practice, and it certainly was one of mine too, is another barrier can be emotional avoidance. Because when we actually slow down and we get out of that doing mode, our nervous system hopefully starts to settle, that often what pops up is now that we have a bit of space is some of the emotions that come with maybe things we haven't processed, and they can be quite uncomfortable emotions that pop up, that and sometimes we don't know why, and or even difficult thoughts or about events or things that we've been struggling with or dealing with. And this discomfort that comes up in the way of those thoughts and feelings in that spacious rest space can inadvertently lead us to go back in that do go mode, because then we can avoid that discomfort. So part of that barrier to allowing rest can be, well, this not resting is helping me avoid that negative stuff. I'm just going to pause here for a moment to share something with you. If you've been listening and thinking, I wish I had a space where I could talk about this with people who truly get it, that's exactly why I created the Midlife Reclaimed community. It's a gentle, real, and supportive space for women navigating midlife. Whether you're facing chronic stress, overwhelm, burnout, or simply wanting to reconnect with yourself. We meet for live, weekly support circles, share reflective prompts, and learn together so you can feel seen, heard, and supported as you reclaim what matters most. You don't have to figure it all out alone. Visit shannonaswales.com/midlife-reclaimed-community to join us. Now let's get back to the episode. This next one, perfectionism and all or nothing thinking barrier. What I mean by this one is that, and this might make more sense in this way, that when we're like, I'll rest when everything's done. So that to-do list is done. So the conditions are perfect, all or nothing, perfect. When the conditions are okay, I've got everything done on my list, then I can prioritize my rest. Or or it could be also that those conditions of rest need to be perfect as well, like not feeling all those negative emotions and thoughts. Or it might be that, you know, I get to go to the beach or whatever, like the location, but that might not be accessible. So when we get stuck in those quite black and white, all or nothing, things need to be perfect kind of conditions, that can make rest really difficult to allow in. So this next one is still a barrier for me with really truly allowing rest. So I've done a lot of work, but this one still stumps me, which is around a dysregulated reward system. What I mean by this is there's a lot of stimulants that we engage in, whether it's caffeine, our phone, even that to-do list. And these stimulants can be quite rewarding on the brain, giving us a dopamine hit that when it comes to rest, we can actually find it quite boring. And I must say, lately, as I'm doing my rest, I'm just sitting there going, I'm bored, I'm bored. And I'm also recognizing, okay, the reason I'm feeling bored is my brain is more like, hey, where's the dopamine hit? So there's that as well. The last one that I want to share in terms of barriers to rest is the cultural narrative for midlife women, particularly the narrative around staying relevant, staying visible, that often there's a experience for a lot of midlife women of feeling invisible. And this can push us to do things to stay relevant, stay visible, like being more productive. And so rest can feel like, that being left behind, declining. Particularly, I see this in the career space, but this could be in other spaces too, as well. Be interested to hear from midlife women around this to understand your experiences. But yeah, the cultural narrative around midlife women, that invisibility and visibility as well can be a barrier to rest. So let's switch gears. We have noticed and named the common barriers that one can experience with allowing rest in, or even contemplating it. So once we've named and noticed our barriers, well, how do we make that step to allowing that rest and not letting those barriers stop us from engaging in that rest or enjoying or getting some sort of satisfaction from that rest? Well, the answer here is acceptance plus compassion. So, what I mean by this is instead of pushing or struggling with that resistance, and why do I feel so guilty? Or, rest isn't selfish, it's good for me. Like, why am I so stuck in this? So, that can be a bit of an example of that resistance. The opposite of resistance or that struggle with that difficulty showing up is actually acknowledging that barrier, noticing, naming, and acknowledging that feeling that comes with it. So that might look like, oh, I'm noticing that I feel guilty or that I think this is selfish. Oh, that comes from that conditioning. So it's acknowledging all that. So acceptance isn't about liking the discomfort that comes with choosing rest, but it's acknowledging the discomfort that comes with it. And when we acknowledge rather than push away that discomfort or struggle with it or avoid resting altogether, we can step into that practice. And then the compassion part is important because obviously acknowledging that discomfort that is coming, like those feelings of guilt or selfishness or that nervous system wanting to get back into that go mode, whatever it might be, we need a bit of kindness and love to go with that, to help support us in our choice to rest. So that's where compassion is key. So to reiterate, we accept through acknowledging the discomfort of the rest that is coming up for you. So noticing, naming it, and then we choose an action of kindness to support us as we go into that rest. I want to go a little bit more into compassion just to help you understand the science and the importance of this. Our nervous systems, our hardwired kind of threat protect system, the fight, flight, freeze, has learned through conditioning that rest is not safe. So when you move into it, that nervous system is in that threat response. She doesn't feel safe. Even up here, if we're like, we know we're safe, we're okay, we don't feel it here. Our body doesn't feel it. So compassion is an action, well, it's a noticing of that suffering, and it's a choice to tend to that suffering, that discomfort, in a way that helps our body soothe and settle over time into that action of rest. So this might look like there's lots of compassionate actions we can do. And I've got episodes where I've gone into this, and I have future episodes when we'll go into this. But the simple one that I often do and that I like is the hand to heart. I often do two hands, but this is just an acknowledgement. It's almost like an internal hug for me to just take a breath and go, this is really hard. I even say that to myself, kindly in my mind, which is another compassionate action. Just go, God, this is difficult. This is tricky. I'm feeling all these feels. I feel guilty. I know I don't have anything to feel guilty about, but I feel it. And even a soothing breath can be great, to take a deep breath in and out, take a few of those if need be. It might even be having your favorite music on to help you settle. There's lots of ways to soothe ourselves. And sometimes I encourage my clients to think about what would you say to a friend or your children or someone you love if they're feeling discomfort. What would you do to help soothe them? Do that for yourself. So that's why compassion is important here, but ways in which you can do that as well. I'm just going to pause here for a moment to share something with you. If you'd like to keep up to date with what I'm working on in the world of midlife and burnout, I invite you to join my mailing list. It's where I share updates on the resources, events, and services I offer to help you navigate midlife stress, overwhelm, and burnout with more ease and clarity. As a thank you, you'll receive my free guided journal, Journaling as a Way Back to Yourself, a gentle, at your own pace, reflective practice to slow down, listen inward, and reconnect with what matters most. You'll also get a couple of extra resources to support you in your inbox after your journal arrives. You can sign up via the link in the show notes or at shannonaswales.com/subscribe. So now back to the episode. Now, in this episode today, we're not going to go into different ways in which to rest or practical ways. That's going to be with my next solo episode. So please follow, subscribe, stay in touch so you don't miss that episode. But I will let you know about a previous episode with Marissa McCool, a life coach from America, that we did an episode around rest, episode 29. So check that out in the meantime and get some tidbits from her as well. A really great deep discussion around the importance of rest there and ways to do that. Now, I'm very mindful there's one area I haven't touched upon today in this discussion around rest and our resistance to it. And that's around, well, how does this all link into burnout and midlife for women? So I just want to touch upon this briefly. I mean, first of all, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but let's make it very conscious, is that often what is contributing to our cycle of burnout is that we're not getting enough of the types of rest that we need. And as we've discovered today, it can be because of a lot of these blocks and barriers that we've talked about and our resistance to it. So today's episode is certainly very helpful in helping you with that so you can get the rest you need. So it's important in that respect for anyone who has or is experiencing burnout or maybe hasn't yet, but looking at preventing it. Um, that yes, addressing this issue because rest is paramount. It's not the only thing that is needed to recover and prevent burnout, but it's certainly a very important factor. And we live in a culture that perpetuates that productivity. So, really getting this message in that this rest, this non-productive mode, is essential for actually our productive mode. So there's that link. For the midlife woman, particularly when I'm talking about our neuroendocrine shifts, so perimenopause, and then menopause, postmenopause, uh, it's important here because our body's going through such a major shift that can come out in a lot of different ways, with women experiencing hot flushes, mood changes, heightened anxiety and stress, lots and lots of symptoms that can cause impacts on their lives, so physically, but being able to engage socially, work, you name it, lots of things that we need a lot of rest. We need these kind of things to help build and support our well-being during this stage, so we can or help us in responding to these challenges. So rest becomes really paramount at this stage of life. It's always paramount, but it's even more important because of this neuroendocrine shift in our body. Yeah, it's like we need to amplify the rest rather than reduce it. But we live in a society that doesn't reward or encourage that on a larger extent, rather than, as we've talked about today, sees more value in the productivity and the doing rather than the non-doing. So that is that is the reason why the rest discussion and working on this is, yeah, paramount, as I've said probably 100 times already today. I want to end today, first of all, thanking you if you stayed this far, or you've paused and come back when you had some time. Well done for doing this for yourself and for joining me as well. I appreciate it. Uh, I just want to note that if rest is really hard for you, if you're really struggling, and you've tried a lot of these things but are really finding it hard, I just want to say you're not failing. Sometimes it's really hard to do these things on our own. And even myself as a therapist, as a trained psychologist, even though I have the knowledge and wisdom, I've gone and sought help to have someone else outside of me to help and support me in those changes and shifts and see what I am not seeing. So my message is if you're finding it hard, you're not failing, you're human. Please go get some help. Please engage with, a therapist, qualified, to get some help. Talk to your girlfriends, talk to your partners, talk to anyone who is a willing and able support person for you. Don't do it alone. We might think in our head that this should be easy. Why can't I rest? Like Joe Blow can do it down the street. Why can't I? Please don't do that to yourself. Please don't keep engaging with that narrative. Well, it is hard for you. Accept that, acknowledge that it is hard for you, and take a compassionate action. So we're using that accept and compassion by going to get help. Allow that compassion in from someone else who can help you. And I hope that today's today's episode has helped in some way as well for your endeavor to get more rest in your life. And please don't forget to follow us, subscribe for my next solo episode. We'll deep dive more into actions of rest, and check out Marissa McCool's episode on episode 29 to get some more information on rest as well. But take care of you, and bye for now. Thanks for listening to Midlife Reclaimed. I hope today's conversation has reminded you that you are not alone and that change is possible even in the busiest seasons of life. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, rate, or review the podcast and share it with another midlife woman who might need it. For more resources on navigating midlife stress, overwhelm, and burnout, along with reflective writing prompts and community connection, visit shannonaswales.com. You can also watch full episodes on YouTube at Midlife Reclaimed. Remember, you have permission to slow down, to rest, and to reclaim what matters most. See you again soon.